trend that has never made a comeback.
It will never come back.
Perhaps
I don't
one
think
day they will parachute back down into style. The
Rubik's
Cube is a
Cube.
3D combination puzzle that was invented in Hungary in
I've played a lot.
1974.
Hey guys, it's TheLoudGuys. Today we are going to watch 1980s forgotten fads. And like in India, what we are wearing, everybody tells us like, okay, you are wearing the Western culture, you are promoting the Western culture, you are wearing their dresses, not our dresses, because our dresses are proper saris and also like suits and these kinds of things. So always we are told that Western culture, but what we can see like when Western culture became the Western culture, like when did they start wearing all these shirts and all these things, cool shirts and things. So let's watch this
video.
The 1980s was a decade of bright colors, big hair, and lots of flair.
Really?
If you grew up during that time, then I'm sure you have some fond memories. Some of the items that came out seemed futuristic at the time, but many of them have paved the way for how things are today.
Really?
In this video, we will have a closer look at some of the fads of the 1980s. The boombox was introduced to the American market during the late 1970s, but it was the 1980s when this became super popular. Some of these boomboxes were quite large and about the size of a suitcase. They required 8 to 10 D-cell batteries, which would last 6 to 8 hours, depending on whether or not you were using the cassette player. If you had one of these, then maybe you cranked up Van Halen or Bon Jovi, but there's a good chance that it was playing Run DMC, LL Cool J, or the Beastie Boys. The boombox was heavily associated with urban communities, which is where it got the nickname Ghetto Blaster. Some cities tried to ban the stereos from being used in public places, and over time they became less acceptable on city streets. However, this was a necessary item when you were b-boying or b-girling and showing off your latest moves. The boombox culture reached its peak in 1986 with 20.5 million units sold. Fast forward to 2003 and there were only 329,000 units sold. Personal listening devices such as the Walkman and the Discman were responsible for the decline of the boombox. Today, people have become accustomed to their smartphone and a Bluetooth speaker rather than a boombox. Breakdancing is a form of hip-hop dancing that appeared to defy human bendability and gravity. It was originally called breakin', but the media labeled it as breakdancing.
But breakdancing is still here.
This art form seems to have originated in Bronx, New York during the 1970s, but it was the 1980s when it exploded all over the world. B-boys and B-girls would face off in an impromptu dance competition where the only things needed were cardboard and a boombox. And of course a lot of practice. These highly talented and athletic dancers spent hours and hours perfecting their skills. Soon recess became a time when kids were doing the wave, caterpillar, top rock,
now everybody's on phones,
windmills, head spins, and more. Although this 80s fad has died down, it has never really disappeared. Breakin' has had a continual influence in the hip-hop, rap, and pop music world. In 2004, breakdancers got down at the Vatican before Pope John Paul II.
Wow!
Breakdancing will also be breaking its way into Paris during the 2024 Olympics. So be prepared for a comeback. You're probably going to see kids, grandparents, and even dogs busting a move.
Dogs? Cute.
If you were a kid in the 80s, then the word parachute means something. Most kids played with a huge parachute in PE class, but there was something that was even bigger. Parachute pants. These were made of the same nylon that real parachutes were made of, but they often had pockets with zippers. These pants made a statement for a couple years in the 1980s.
Really?
If you had these rad pants, then it meant you were bad. For all you youngsters out there, that meant that it was good. The pants were usually tight-fitting but breathable, and they became extremely popular when everyone was trying out their latest breakdancing moves.
Do you find it cool?
These cool pants came in a variety of colors, but the most popular ones were black, gray, and red. As quickly as they came in, they went out, and the public moved on to the next fad. This is one 80s fashion trend that has never made a comeback.
It will never come back. I don't
One day they will parachute back down into style. The Rubik's Cube is a 3D combination puzzle that was invented in Hungary in 1974. It was
Have you
originally
been
called
able
the
to solve
Magic
it?
Cube,
No.
but it was licensed by the inventor Erno
You?
Rubik to be sold by the Ideal Toy Company in 1980. Each side of the cube had a different color, and the object of the puzzle was to make all sides match their respective color. The Rubik's Cube became super popular in the 1980s, and almost every household had one. Some people could solve this puzzle very quickly,
Yes.
while others could not. If you
Same.
were one of those that couldn't,
I
then
mean,
you might have
others-
just peeled the stickers off and then placed them back on there in matching order.
I've done that.
Oh.
I've
You
done
could have
this.
also taken it
Yes.
apart and put it back together.
I've done this.
Eventually, cheat books came out to help people solve it, but some people still said this was useless.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, there have been multiple competitions where people test their skills in solving it quickly. The world record
3
was set in
seconds.
2018 at 3.47
3.5 seconds.
Some people
God.
consider this puzzle the original fidget toy, as it came out long before any fidget spinner could ever think about. The Rubik's Cube may not be as popular with the masses as it once was, but they are still
But
a
it is
beloved
still there,
classic
yeah.
Still
puzzle.
there, yeah.
In
Over
India, you can find
100 million cubes have been sold since they emerged on the market.
it. Wow.
Wow.
Pac-Man is one of the longest running,
Pac-Man?
best-selling, and
Pac-Man.
highest grossing video game
Pac-Man.
franchises in history. This game was released on May 22nd,
I have played this game.
1980, and it quickly took the world by storm in arcades as well as the Atari gaming system.
Yes.
You have
The
played this game?
franchise
Yes.
issued folders, pencils, shirts, bed sheets, board games, and more. There was even a hit song called Pac-Man Fever. Pac-Man remains one of the most recognizable video game characters in history and is a 1980s cultural icon. This yellow pie-shaped Pac-Man character travels around a maze eating dots and trying to avoid ghosts that are hunting him.
Oh.
The game was a breakaway from the space or shooting style arcade games that were out at the time. In 1982,
Now we
an
can't see it
estimated
anywhere.
30 million Americans spent more than $8 million a week playing Pac-Man.
$8 million a week.
They were feeding
Oh
quarter
my
after
God.
quarter
Coins
into
of
machines
coin.
located in arcades,
People were
pizza
addicted
joints,
to it.
bowling
Yes.
alleys, and bars. People were playing this game so much that many towns across the U.S. passed statutes or regulations to restrict the games.
Pac-Man.
Des Plaines, Illinois banned people under the age of 21 from playing the game unless they were accompanied by their parents.
What?
Marshfield, Massachusetts banned the video game outright.
They're banning video
Other
games.
towns and cities issued licensing and zoning to restrict arcades from selling food or being too close to a school.
Oh.
Parents became worried about kids being
The
consumed
start of
with
the video game
and
era.
not focusing on studies. This is a very similar thought process to what many parents think about kids with
No.
tablets and phones.
Yeah.
And 70s kids don't judge too quickly. This also happened in many places across the U.S. with pinball machines. The 1980s changed the way we look at music forever. MTV
MTV.
began just after midnight on August 1st, 1981 with the broadcast of Video Killed the Radio Star. In the beginning, the
Oh,
network struggled because the music video library was somewhat shallow. More and more artists started making music videos, and the additional exposure in the video format on MTV could propel these artists into superstardom. Michael Jackson became the king of MTV with his hit video singles Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller. The network brought success to newcomers such as Madonna and Duran Duran, but it also renewed life to veteran performers such as ZZ Top, Peter Gabriel, and Tina Turner.
Tina
Later in the
Turner.
decade, the channel featured specialty shows such as Headbangers
Headbangers
Ball,
Ball.
Yo MTV Raps, and
Yo
Remote
Raps.
Control. By the mid to late 90s, the original channel was airing programming that had nothing at all to do with music. But
Oh.
to 80s kids, MTV will always be a special memory.
Even in India it was there, but now we
Yeah.
don't watch it.
Keeping up with the time was important,
Swatch.
but so was
Swatch.
looking cool.
I have wore a
And
watch,
That's where
a
Swatch
Swatch.
watches come in.
Like you have
The
to do
Swiss
this,
watch
right?
industry was suffering due
And
to
we
the
just-
rise of digital quartz
This no, I have
watches.
wore
They were
wore a
much
better
cheaper
one.
to produce and
But I
purchase
wore
by
this
the
watch also.
consumers. In order to combat this new trend, Swatch came out with some new fashionable watches that made wearing them totally cool. They
3D
came in
watches?
all sorts of colors and designs. Some people even chose to wear more than one.
Huh?
They were meant to appeal to the younger generation, and many people collected them.
I thought it was a Swiss
One
brand.
other popular trend was
It
rubber
was.
bands that would cover the watch face and protect it.
Huh?
These also came in an array of colors, and many people would have two twisted across the face of the watch. Swatch watches are still being made today, although they aren't quite as popular as they were in the 1980s. The 1980s was all about big hair.
What is that
Hairstyles,
hairstyle?
and what you chose to do with it said a lot about who you were.
The puffs.
Maybe you went for the rocker
And messy
look, or
hair.
maybe you went pump. But some of the more popular styles were the mullet, high top, Gumby, Jerry curls, or the asymmetrical style. No matter what you had, it had to be big.
Wow.
Many women in the 80s crimped their hair like Debbie Gibson or wore it curly like Whitney Houston. In order to look good, it took lots of hair products, and the most popular one was hairspray.
Okay.
Tons of Aquanet hairspray was used in order to get those big wings and tidal wave bangs. The 80s was all about going big, and the bigger it was, the better.
Just do whatever you want to do with your hair.
Anyone who had stocks in Aquanet became
simply do
super
this,
rich
this,
after
and
the
you are
80s. For a while, it seemed like a competition. Who could grow it longer or make it stand up taller? Mullets seem to be making a bit of a comeback, but the huge hair for ladies is still a thing.
This is not coming back.
80s.
Not at all.
The 1980s was a special decade, especially for those that experienced it.
So I can say there are a lot of things that we copied from America, like even the dresses I would say that we did, and even the 80s and 90s of India was also very vibrant. But now I can say the hairstyles were not copied at all, because Indians are very, were very oily, and like they had a very flat hairstyle, like okay, like this, or like an army cut or something like that. So that was the case. So this is something like only in America you can see.
Yeah, do you want to try those pants?
Parachute pants?
Parachute pants, yeah.
Why
They're
not?
on t-shirt, because that looks cool. That looks cool, but I don't think so. They are just coming back. And if we talk about cube, it is still trendy in India. Like still, with my cousins, and still we compete like who is solving the first. So it's still, and it will be. Because it's very useful.
And similarly with breakdance, I think so that is also still there, and it is still going very well. So it's not just a fad or just something that ended right away. So what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share and
Subscribe.
Bye.